Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third episode now of Twisted Talk. It is your host, V here, the multi-time alumni, etc., etc. Today, you're not joined by Caden, but by me and by the three-time winner and two-time loser of the finals, and then another time loser of Twisted Challenge, Jessica. How are you, Jessica?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. Screw you for calling me a loser.
Well, hey, you've won three times now. I feel like it's kind of needed.
Okay, yeah, fine. Keep me humble.
Like you've kind of tied a thing that hasn't happened since season six, and we're on season 14 now. Like it's kind of a thing now that you are a three-time winner. But you of course been on a lot of seasons at this point, a lot of the most recent ones, but also in the original era before we merged with Twisted.
Yeah.
With the first season being your immediate win, which was incredible. So let's start with the first season because it had its moments, especially involving
Yep,
you. Um,
there were a few
uh,
moments.
so for some backstory about the season, season seven was New Beginnings and had the exact same format as season one. It was kind of a return to the original format that I had and revisiting it format wise, also casting wise. I kind of tried to bring in vets who maybe hadn't won yet besides Rover and Lucas because they were season one winners. Um, and on
Yeah,
this
keep all the
season,
tryhards out.
yes, but I did that because the previous season was All Stars, and um, in this season, I also tried to bring in as many promising rookies that would then be able to continue in the upcoming seasons. With, of course, one of them being Jessica, as
Yep.
we had just played an org together that got cancelled, but we don't talk about that org.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yep, we don't talk
and
about that host or the pile.
yes, or that community, but you
Yep,
know.
depths of
But you enter the game with, let's just call it a vendetta, as well, with someone
a
else
vendetta,
who was
yeah, sure.
playing. Yeah, I feel like that's a good name. With Big Dog or Tyrell, who has played Twist Five a couple of times now as well, and originally played season four of Visa Challenge. Um, and after you kind of win the second challenge, and then later on the fourth challenge, that's when the drama starts to happen, you could say. Um,
Yes.
so let's talk a bit about that.
Well, basically what had happened was I the way I was in the challenge house, I was just randomly talking to people. And then the way Big Dog is he will always try to say something to piss people off. That's just how he is. He gets a kick out of reactions. And then he starts publicly defending Andrew Tate. Now, as a woman, first of all, as a woman, that's cringe. So
Yeah.
I felt a little bit uncomfortable. And so I kind of took jabs at it and also pointed out that Andrew Tate belongs in the depths of hell. Um, and me and Big Dog, we didn't get along before that, but even then, we got in a fight, and during that fight, he called me Lil Jess, and I did not let go of it.
I mean, logical. But you end up winning that challenge. I think your team ends up winning that
Yes,
challenge.
my team won that
Um,
challenge, and I was the captain for it.
yes, and if I'm correct, you had nominated Zifren to go into elimination, or Zink, no, now, against
Yep.
Big Dog, who had been voted in. Um,
Yeah,
but
I asked their
uh,
team to vote him in.
yes, but what also happens is you had gotten the lifesaver, or
Yes.
someone had, or Robo had gotten the lifesaver. I'm correct, actually.
Yes,
Um,
Robo had a lifesaver, and
and for those who don't know, Robo and Zink have a long history behind them in the challenge and outside of it.
ex-lovers, woo!
Yes, and here's when probably one of the most, in my opinion, iconic moments from your challenge career happens, which I'll let you explain.
So what happened was that V revealed the elimination a bit too early after I had sent Zinc in and revealed it to be Loopover. Loopover I played before in other orgs, and I knew for a fact that my time in Loop Over, like my personal best, is crazy good. It is 14 seconds. So I saw that Loop Over was the elimination and that Big Dog was sent in. So the first thing I did was I asked Robo to use the lifesaver on Zinc. And then I just said straight up, I'm going to send myself in. I want to take Big Dog out. And Robo let that happen. He let me cook. And I
Yeah, I
cooked up a
mean,
storm.
I feel like Robo probably was saving Sync already because of how close they are in the
Yeah,
game. But the way you let that happen and kind of prove yourself really quickly, not just as a competitor, but also as like a don't try me kind of person. Um,
yes,
it just really cemented you already as someone like, okay, I'm calling you back for every season possible. Um, which you continue onwards, tying the all-time challenge record in your rookie season, winning the following two, and then surviving the sort of mini elimination purge type thing.
yeah,
Um, which then you also survive Ricky, which we won't go into detail of. And you go into the solo game, which I would like to call the Purge of the Vets Part 2. Um, and a lot of the parts of the solo game, you didn't need to have control simply because of the reputation you already garnered yourself from the first half of the game.
yeah. I will
However,
say,
yes, Beth,
like my, I feel like from the start, like after I'd sent myself in and then won the challenge right before the quote unquote special round, I had already built myself up as a massive like threat, and like anyone who would go against me would be in trouble. Because at
mm-hmm.
that point, I'd already won 3 challenges and dominated an elimination.
I mean, obviously, like you had cemented yourself as someone who they did not want to go against. And the people who were in control at that point were Elmo, were Con, were Willow,
Yeah,
were French, who, I mean, they had an alliance, but also they didn't come into the season necessarily with an alliance.
yeah.
Um,
It was just because of
and
the C
yeah, a lot of,
word.
yes. And they really manipulated a lot of the game with elimination matchups until the final round of the game, where um, Felix gets life savored by Elmo,
Yep.
um, and is saved from elimination. And instead, it is Con, or it was you that gets thrown in, one of the two. But the elimination is basically the strongest physical competitor versus the strongest social and strategical competitor of the season,
Yeah.
where
I,
you get your best elimination possible.
yeah, it is kind of. I feel really bad for Con because whenever Con's gone against me, it's always been an elimination that I have been training for my entire life.
I mean, you got Tetris for God's sake.
Yeah,
This was planned. This was not rigged for anyone
yeah,
thinks.
no, it was planned, but even I was like, okay, this has got to be a rig.
No, because Zach and I have been working on the challenges. Like, I explicitly asked him, like, can you help me with these? And he was like, oh, we did Tetris episode one, so let's do a different version as the final one because that's going to be cool and a callback, etc., etc. And I'm like,
Brilliant
yeah,
storyline.
sure. Like, great thing to do. Like, oh, you saw the first elimination. Here's the last one, but difficult.
Yeah.
Um, and then the thing is, you were on a plane at that moment, right?
Y-
Like, you were
Yes.
gonna go on a plane.
Yes. The way it happened was the final elimination was revealed, and the very next day I had to get on the plane and fly out to Australia. And during the like first couple of hours, I had gotten the score I ended up submitting, but I never sent the screenshot, and I didn't have access to my laptop since that went into my bag ready to go for the next day, and I was just rushing. Like I was up at 6 a.m. to do all of it. So I had no chance to send the screenshot, so I was like begging for my life, like, can I get an extension for just a couple of hours? I need it.
Hmm. I mean, I know Con also took a while to submit. Like in general, I feel like both of you did not want to go at that point,
Yeah,
which is obvious. But you then win the elimination, meaning you're 2-0 at this point,
hmm
and you make it to the finals. And I feel like you winning was very much like obvious at that point. Like
yeah,
you dominated part one, and then French and Felix got first, and then part two, you still like stayed on top, and you won your first season.
yeah.
Um,
And
which I mean, your first season I think is one of your like maybe a lesser game, like socially and strategically, but still really strong game of yours.
yeah, I would say that was probably my weakest in terms of actively playing the game. Like, I definitely did take a back seat, but I took a back seat kind of knowing I would be fine to do so. Like, in the second half of the game, while I didn't have much control, I still made sure I was aligning with the right people.
Hmm.
Like, I made sure to get in with Khan.
Yeah, you were close with the people in power, and even though they always were trying to kind of ultimately get you an elimination, they still knew that none of them wanted to go against you in elimination and dare that.
Yeah,
Um, which, ironically, this kind of more dominant game moves into your next season, where the next season is kind of the point where Twisted fuses with Visa Challenge, and we
yeah,
have a rivals together with a hero versus villains theme, um, like the season, and it was a duo season. And Jessica and French from season 7 enter the game in episode 2 as sort of like super villains as a pair that were like more villainous from their previous season, or like in general from the past, to kind of shake things up instead of just being rival pairs. While
yeah,
Zach and
super
Meg
fun.
were hero pairs. Um, and I feel like the first half of your game pretty mild. Like
Yeah, the first half of my
nothing insane
game,
happened.
I intentionally made sure I wasn't trying to stand out because like I had just come off of a win in dominant fashion, and the first round I was paired with someone who I knew for a fact that if I had gone into elimination with him as a pair, I probably would have been in trouble.
Hmm.
So at the start of the game, the first thing I did was I just went around to other people saying, "Hey, if you go into elimination, would you like maybe take me away?"
Mm. Like you actively were campaigning to be stolen, and because the twist of that season was if you won elimination, you can either stay with your partner or you can steal someone else's partner and kind of make a new pair.
Yeah.
Which I mean, you got every partner and then some. Um,
Well, I had Lou as a partner for a good like 3 or 4 rounds up
mhm.
until the comments, which then made
Yeah,
her quit.
yeah. I mean, the first half I feel like of this season, you started with French, then had Lou, and everything then ended with the drama, which then you
Yeah.
ended up with Courtney, with Courtney then having to leave and being replaced by Clara, and then after I think you won elimination, you then chose to swap and get Elmo as
Yes.
your partner. Um,
Yes. And
but
there's actually a
before we
lot
go into
to that
detail,
decision as well.
yes, but before we like go into even detail remotely of those eliminations, we should probably talk about who was in control and who was kind of in the end gonna try to get you out. So this season, there's something called the Cult of Eris,
Yes, the
um,
Cult of Eris, which
which
is definitely a real thing and wasn't made up in my head.
yes, it's become a meme at this point, to be honest. Which had the pair of Tony and Lennox, of Zach and Meg, of V and Remy, and then also Eris. And Elmo also was in that, but they weren't necessarily a pair
Yeah.
because they were all people who got really close, who already were close from previous seasons, and
Yeah,
through
they were.
that, like combined together. But there also were cracks in that, like there were people who were more close than others.
Yeah,
Well, you got more close with like the Samo and the Caleb and the Neo and Froggo side, who were like the either newer players or the players who have less connections in the game.
yeah.
Which resulted in Samo and Caleb being thrown in round after round after round, and Neo and
Oopsie.
Froggo being thrown in round after round after round, and Gon
I
being
mean,
targeted.
what cemented me thinking that there was like a massive like pre-game alliance was that the second that Con and Neo saved themselves round three and then put in Eris and Elmo, I think, oh no, it was Eris and um
The round they saved themselves, it was Froggo and French versus Wise and Chris and Robo and Nathaniel.
yes, yeah. And I remember them swapping themselves for Eris and Bear. And then the round
Mhm.
after they were just hard focused by Eris and like Eris V and Remy. Like so in my head it was just like, okay, there's collusion going on there. And
I
it
mean,
started
obviously.
piecing it together in my head when like V, Zach, Meg, Tony, they had all played so many seasons together before this. So it kind of just in my brain said, okay, these are the people to watch out for. They're probably working together, which then made me run to the other people and be like, yo, we need to stop this.
Hmm. And you did your best. Like, you got a really good spot. The issue
Yeah,
was Tony and Lennox and Zach and Meg are some of the most like strongest pairs to ever appear on the
yeah.
orc in the season.
Every
And
single episode that season had one of at least two of those four people winning, except for
mhm,
episode four.
yep, and that's the episode that V and Remy won and Frank and Aris won. So
Exactly. Like
every
there was
round they
never a
were in
chance.
control, which resulted in you. I mean, in the beginning, you did kind of like you got some close to some wins, but never got to that win.
Yeah, I
And
was also
then you
really
got
close
thrown into the
with Tony.
crossfire, but won the crossfire, and you were able to decide to win to elimination. And then you got into the second to last elimination against basically your only allies left in the game.
Yeah, it was a double elimination, me and Clara versus Con and Neo versus Samo and Caleb. And like it was a little stressful at first because like I'm against two really strong pairs, and then it was revealed to be puzzles as well as just individual.
Hmm.
And winning that felt brilliant.
Yeah, so the way it was held was it was run individually, but the results would be in pairs. And it was like round, and then two people got eliminated, another round, and two people got eliminated. And then in the third round, the winner stayed in the game completely, etc.
Yeah,
And Jessica did demolish it. Though I do think Clara still got to the second round, if I remember correctly.
yeah,
Um, but you still did really well in this. And then we go to the last round of the game, and it's basically that entire other alliance of Tony, Lennox, Zach, and Meg,
yep,
and then also at this point being Clara, and also Remy and Frago, and
yeah,
then you and Elmo because you decided to swap with your season 7 winner,
yeah.
where
Actually,
Tony
me
and Lennox
picking
won the
Elmo,
final round.
like me picking Elmo was a weird thing because originally I didn't want to pick Elmo. Was, I just didn't vibe with him very well. So what I actually wanted to do was I wanted to win the elimination and pick V. Just pick V because I knew how much V hated me, and I am a petty person. And we had gotten in a lot of fights, especially with her saying that like my win didn't count, basically, and that I wasn't actually very good. So I took that personally, won that elimination, and went, you know, I want to pick V. And Clara stopped me from doing it. Clara basically strong-armed me into not picking V because Clara wanted to do with V.
Yeah, I remember that. And also, like, if you at this point had basically lost fresh meat by 5 minutes and then return in Campus versus Contenders and got to the final elimination and lost to the three-time winner now.
Yeah.
And so coming into this season, she wanted it really badly, and she played her heart out, and she still did really well. But she didn't go into any of the eliminations this season,
Yeah.
and the reason she then tanks the finals is due to like technical difficulties. Um, but
Mhm. I mean, I
basically,
don't think they
Lennox and
beat Tony and
Tony.
Lennox.
Oh, they don't. I feel like the only people who were possible to beat them were Zach and Megan, you and Elmo. But before we go into the finals itself, Lennox and Tony win the final daily, meaning Tony is now 2 for 2 in making the finals, and Lennox is making his first finals. And they fill in, well, like last place went to elimination, and then they fill in the other pair, which, if I'm correct, the pair that was last was V and Clara. Drago and
Hmm.
Remy get voted in, and then
Meg and
the
Zach.
lifesaver is used that Zach had and Meg had from this like beginning of the season. They were able to keep it until literally the final round, and
Yeah.
they say C, which threw you and Elmo into the final elimination of the season.
Yep. Um, and you had revealed after me and Elmo were sent in that it was live strategy. And
Mm-hmm.
the amount of despair that I felt in that moment, I genuinely believed I was going home. Like, the elimination hadn't even happened, and I was already packing my bags.
Yeah, the elimination was black and white, which is a known the genius game, where basically you only know if your opponent submitted black or white, and one is even, the other is uneven, and then zero can beat the highest number, but lose every other number, and you're basically trying to mind game your opponent and playing a lower number or playing a higher number, so you can have higher numbers later on and earning points this way.
Yeah,
And basically, it got 1-1, and then 2-1, and in the final round, you were able to win out against Remy and Brago and make it to your second finals in a row.
yeah. Um, that elimination was absolutely wild. Also,
With a
I
fun
remember
elimination
the
to host,
score differently.
but yeah, like I know for a fact now if I ever do something like that again, I'm gonna do black and white too, because that one is far more strategical and actually gets your brain thinking more.
Yeah,
Because in that
because
one you have like the points and the light system, and you have to guess more and think more and calculate more. But with black and
yeah,
white, you can kind of just throw in random numbers and pray to God.
and that's exactly what me and Elmo did. Once we had a point lead, we started just randomizing our list and started using that list,
Mm-hmm.
and it worked
It
very
worked
well.
out. But you make it to the finals, which that finals in general is probably one of the most stacked finals I've ever had. Um, and I'd say the only reason you lose, because you had a really good run, is due to one singular comp.
Yep. Um, yeah, the word search. That that cursed word search. Um,
The word search has been in place since the original season one.
yeah, it's been in every season. It doesn't mean I can't do it every season. Wait,
Yeah, I mean, I know you had done the crossword and you made Elmo do the word search, and Elmo
yes,
did
and
pages.
his thing, I assumed that he would be faster because like I always assume that I'm really bad at word searches because I struggle seeing. Like a word search is hell for me. But
Hmm.
what I had done in 25 minutes, Elmo took 45 minutes. Like, had I started right after I finished the crossword, we would have gotten done so much faster. But because I had assumed that Elmo would do it faster, I just took a step back, took a piss break, had a McFlurry,
Which
uh,
was a mistake.
which was the mistake.
I mean, you still did an incredible job, especially returning as a previous champion from from
Yeah,
literally the season that just finished. Especially because like someone like a Zach or an a Meg had been spectating it, had been actively watching it. And he still competed against multiple of the greats. which this isn't your first time or your last time going against the greats in this org. We'll talk about All Stars later. But after the season, you take a bit of a break because also we have the introduction of the first Twisted season, which is Rise, where had Elmo get his second win and Zach get his first win. And the
I will
finals
say,
were also pretty fun. Yes.
during the gap between season 8 and Cutthroat, which is the season I ended up doing next, you posted a ranking of like the top 20 of Generation 1.
Yes, I did.
And that started my villain arc, truly. I came into season 8 as a supervillain, but I wasn't a real villain until the top 20 was released.
Yeah, I mean the top 20. Oh, whenever I look back, I'm like, okay, maybe I could put this person like a little lower or this person a little higher. But that's also because I have more time to reflect each time about the games and the seasons.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is always a mix of the stats, a mix of the entertainment, and then a mix of like how they actually did.
Yeah.
And like I remember when I originally did it for season 6, I had like a thought about okay, this person likes this and they like that, and then of course season 7 and 8 happened, and some people dropped and some people got higher. And of course people got added as well. And with you, I think I put you like 10th, I think,
You put me at 11th. You put me
or
below
11th, yeah.
Elmo.
And the reason I had was because I know I at that point I felt like your season 7 game was really dominant, but not socially or
Yeah.
strategically. And then your second game was the exact opposite. And I feel like my thought process at that point was, if you can combine them, you're gonna skyrocket and be top 3. And
Yeah.
it's not hard to say that you kind of have done that at this point. you you kind of took multiple drugs, batshit crazy,
Yeah.
and have played 4, no 3, but yeah, no 4, yeah, 4,
Four.
correct, 4 incredible great games in a row, getting player of the season in all of them, or three of them. Um, but before we go into those last 3, let's go to Cutthroat, your comeback season after a season break, which Cutthroat was the second Twisted season, having 3 teams of 9 with 1 person in purge, and you start on the yellow team.
Yep. I want to say, like, before we go into the details of this season, is in the pregame, I had talked to you specifically about how I kind of struggle a little bit with these kinds of seasons, not because I'm I'm bad socially or because like I struggle under pressure or like I struggle working with a group, is I find these kinds of seasons too boring. So I challenge myself and then screw myself over.
Yeah, that's like an exact example of what happened this season. Because, I mean, I'll just let you tell you what you did.
Yeah, so you had revealed the format fully at the end of episode 1, and the teams were all drafted, and the first thing we all did, well, first thing all the like strong players who were casted did was form a mega alliance right away and just be like, okay, you know what? We're gonna make sure that we are all running this battle together and we're all gonna win. And with the format, the 2 people who win elimination every round got to swap with another person if they
Mm-hmm.
wanted to. And I saw this and went, I have a funny idea. What if I send myself and like volunteer for an elimination, win it, and then swap with someone who is in our alliance to the finale team, and then I'll win another elimination and just swap back. I got to be the Uber driver.
Yeah, basically, you were like, "Oh, you want a trip to the win? I'll take you. It'll cost getting myself an elimination and your undying loyalty, but I'll take you."
Hey, people were loyal to me that season.
They were like this is the first time where you had a lot of social control in the game, and you were able to really impress on more than just the physical game. Because while you only win two dailies that season, technically you only win two like full dailies.
Yeah. I mean, I won
You
0 in Crossfire, which is crazy.
yeah, you throw yourself in both eliminations. You ask to be thrown into three other eliminations.
Yep.
And let me just count how many people you sent home. One,
That would
two,
be
three,
8.
four, five. Yeah, eight people.
Yep. And like, I just
Which
did it because
is
it was funny.
basically an entire team.
I mean, I basically did send home the entire green team.
Also true. Which the green team absolutely got demolished. Rest in peace, Gabe. Speaking of, Gabe is the only person ever to beat you in elimination.
Yep. the, Out of all people, Gabe.
Well, Anthony also did, but Gabe doing so is more impressive.
Yeah. Chris, Gabe, and Anthony all beat me in the elimination I go home on.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
I
like at
gained
this point,
so much
Anthony had
respect.
been a bit like under the radar, but still doing well. And
Yeah.
Gabe had also been like kind of sailing through, yet also being a fun person to being around. And Chris had already impressed me from the previous season. So when
Yeah,
the
Chris
four
sent
of
home
you were in
hot.
elimination, I was like, oh, Gabe and Anthony are done for. And then and then they both beat you and Chris. And I'm like,
Yeah.
holy fucking shit.
Yeah, truly, like it was heartbreaking. Because at the same time, at that point, I had a job. Like, I was actually working at the same time. And trust me, I annoyed my coworkers with how much I talked about Twisted Challenge. Like, I think so much about stuff, and I keep always like trying to write down everything, but then I'll keep talking about it.
I
Um,
mean, that's the mood. That's how I am. Like if my friends were more interested in it, in like in real life, I would constantly be berating them and giving like thoughts about it and what's happening and I want this and I'm doing that, but they aren't. So they're not, you don't really care.
yeah.
But you still make it to the second last elimination. Almost make the finals again.
Hmm.
Um, And at this point, we were also nearing the anniversary of the challenge in general. And I had been kind of poking the OGs of like, hey, do you want to do this season? Special season? Hey, do you want to do this season? And I feel like I got one of the best casts and one of the best seasons in All Stars, which was an OGs only season, which is where you kind of went insane and played probably one of the best games ever, which is like hard to say when you have Tony out there. Um, but coming into All Stars, I think in total there were like 13 championships being represented, like 20 finals or something like that. Like there were a lot of really
Yeah.
big names on this season, multi champions, multi finalists, and those who hadn't made a finals. There were like two of them, like three of
Yeah.
them. And even then, they still weren't horrible people. Um,
Yeah. I mean, one thing I want to say is like before like All Stars, um, coming out of Cutthroat, I left that season with an 8-1 elimination record, which even just 8-1 on its own, I don't think anyone else has won 8 eliminations up to that point.
uh, I don't think so. I feel like
I feel like the
Chris
closest was
maybe
Heart or Chris.
close or hot, yeah. Like those are like the close people, but even then,
Yeah, like but also they have also lost a good handful of eliminations to go with that.
mhm. I mean,
And
even
then
hot, he loses in his winning season.
Yeah. Like Har lost to Chris. Har lost against I kind of forgot who in season 3. I don't study that hard.
Uh, Let me double check quickly. Ah, lost to Chris and lost to Sugar, who also is in All-Stars.
Yeah. Like leaving that season, even though I lost, I feel like I left looking stronger somehow.
Mhm.
And then coming into All Stars with that record, I think it kind of put me not on a different level, but put me like in a different place in people's minds.
Definitely. I mean, you came into the season with some previous connections, like Lennox was back, Fee was back, Meg was back, Con and Zach were back. But also a lot of new people like
Yeah.
Courtney, who the people listening to this, yes, it's the same Courtney who won Survivor twice. She also won the challenge. Um,
Mother.
but true though, we love Courtney. Um, and
I
also
mean,
people like Carla, who were like one of the best to ever win. You had played with Zing in New Beginnings. Um, and like
yeah.
people like Dex, who had made their recent comeback. Sugar was back. Archer was back. Who Archer is also going to be always an amazing character, personality. Maybe not always best to play with, but great to watch.
Yeah.
But the beginning of the season, I feel like was more tame on your end.
It was I would say the start of the game was pretty tame for me. And the first thing I did was I made an alliance with Snowflake System and Con.
Hmm.
And while I would love to say that I was truly loyal to that alliance, we were a very quiet group in that alliance. We never talked to each other much, so I didn't feel that close of them. So, like early on, after Carla had won uh, their elimination versus Dex, well, actually, no, it's right before that, I became really good friends with Carla.
Kala is someone who, like, I go way back with Kala. I think it
Yeah,
was my fifth org ever, and we did this one org, and we got really close at that point. And when I started my org, I was like, okay, I have to ask Kala back, obviously. Like, I have to ask Kala for this. Like, I know she's going to be a really good player. And when she lost season one, getting second place, I was like, no. And then I got her back for season four. And in season four, her time zone combined with the very much anti-vet mentality kind of
yeah,
screwed her early on. And so her agreeing to come back for this season, I was like, fuck yes. And she did really well. Like, she goes out in the mercenary round, which
yes,
no
which
one survived the mercenary round.
um
Like, you
I
had,
will say, being in Australia, like moving from England to Australia during season 7 and then being in Australia for season like 8 through Play Connect, I like it genuinely kind of helped my game because otherwise I never would have been able to align with Carla. Because in Australia, I was in the Western Australia, like the time zone gap between me and Carla was only 4 hours, which is like how I am now with Americans. So like I'm blessed to be able to have been in the right place at the right time.
I mean, Carla is someone I'm always gonna adore, and whenever she wants to return, like, they're gonna be on. Like,
Yeah.
if they even just put the name in and the application, it's just like, you suck. They're being casted. Um,
Nepotism, go.
yes. But I think starting the mercenary round is kind of when the game starts to pick up on your end.
Yeah.
Also where the drama starts to pick up. Because
Yes.
in the mercenary round, we have Zinc, Snowflake System, Carla, and Lucifer all being eliminated. With the following round, Zinc winning back in through the redemption system, and Lucifer almost winning back in, where they got an opportunity to go against the person in elimination. And if they won, they got back into the game.
Yeah.
Going
I
against
will
Courtney.
say there's one thing is during that mercenary elimination, me and Carl, well, I had realized there was a hidden advantage in the game that I could only get if I had enough stars. And the way that advantage works is you could pull stars of other people to buy it. And so I had told Carla about it, and right before Carla left, we had piled all our stars together and we bought that advantage so I could maybe use that advantage to save Carla from the mercenaries. Turns out I couldn't because it had to be used beforehand, but Carla then willed that legacy advantage to me. So that kind of allowed me to play this end game with a sense of security as well as just a sense of throwing it all to the wind.
Hmm. I mean, you obviously wanted revenge for like your number one going at the midpoint of the game.
Yeah.
But like the mercenary round, I never expected all four of you to be eliminated. Um, which I feel like is very obvious with there being two solo rounds back to back and then two duo rounds. Um, like I had not planned it that way. I had to very much improvise and like swap some rounds and scratch some rounds even as well to kind of even out the numbers. Um, but at this point is when the drama starts to happen.
Yes, the
Because
drama.
next is the fabled Meg versus Zack elimination, which is
Whoops.
still one of the biggest dramas of basically that entire season of the org
Yeah. I mean,
because
I
of a
will say
singular challenge.
the Meg versus Zack drama, like the Meg being against Zack in elimination drama, I wasn't even the biggest person to blame for it. That wasn't even all my fault. That was
I mean,
that was
that
V
was like
Chris and
you.
Lennox.
Yeah, I was about to say, it was like you four being like little devils in a circle, being like, how can we make them cry?
I mean, I okay, so yes, but also no. Like I didn't want to actually make these people upset at me, but I needed
Obviously,
Zack
right?
out of the game. Zack is the one of the best players ever, and literally won 2 seasons in a row before this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and Meg is his closest. Yeah, Meg is his closest ally. Of course, if we're going to get Zack out, we need to do that, and then we did it. And
Yeah,
during that
I was.
daily
It was
challenge,
very impressive to see.
during that daily challenge, me and Lennox had a plan where he would just stay up all night doing it, but also we would get into a fight with a couple other people, and I would sneak in a star-making message. And for context, when someone was counting, you couldn't count at the same time. You had to stop them first and then start counting. I had sent in a star-making message, and I was allowed to, and then no one stopped me. No one had realized that I sent that message. And it went unnoticed for 6 hours. And then I went to sleep. And I woke up to the results of the challenge,
Those
including,
results were chaotic.
yeah, so the top three of the episode were Lennox, V, and Con. And the bottoms, I'm pretty sure, well, one of them had to have been Zack. The other one, I'm
Zach
pretty
was the
sure,
bottom, like he
yeah,
was last place.
Zack was last place. Meg was actually, I don't think Meg was in the bottom
It
at
was
all.
it
She
was
was,
Zink, Meg, and Chris in the bottom three.
oh, okay. So yeah, and then from there, even though people who won that challenge actually wanted to take a shot at me that episode, they couldn't because Meg sent herself in thinking the entire game was against her and that like this was all done as a personal attack. And so she
Hmm.
sent herself in against Zack.
And then win.
And then she won, which is like props to her. Like I respect anyone who sends themselves in and wins. Like I gained so much respect for Court when she went in against Lucifer and won.
I mean, I feel like when that whole round happened, did it maybe get a bit too personal? Yes. But
Yep.
was it still really great? Also, yes.
I mean,
Um,
it got personal, but I don't think I got personal.
yeah, like it got personal in the moment, but also I don't think anyone really is mad about it anymore. Besides the and you, like having still some beef. Like,
V
I
is
feel
more
like in
upset about how the
general,
final turned out.
yeah, I feel like in general that situation got resolved then. Like, especially because the next few rounds, Chris and Con get eliminated by Courtney and Zink,
Yep.
and then you become Sensei Jessica and teach Zink the ways of the jigsaw.
Yes.
Um,
The ways of the jigsaw, which is now banned in every country.
yes,
But also
thank you, Cam.
with the round where Zinc and Court won the elimination, they were sent in by default because the format of the season had basically currency, and Meg had earned enough currency to buy a lifesaver. And even though I
Mhm.
had my own advantage, I didn't tell anyone about it until the final round. And me and Meg, we lost that challenge because it was the shopping challenge, and I really hate that shopping challenge. Um, we lost, and then Meg, thinking that like, okay, we're probably being sent in, she bought a lifesaver, saved both of us, even though she didn't need to. Which then brings us into final where me and Zinc won that final daily after I had trained him in the way of the jigsaw. And I had a choice to either have it be Core and V versus Lennox and Meg, where Lennox and Meg probably win, or I used the advantage I had had since episode 5 to save Courtney and V and put Lennox against Meg. And I did that, which is brutal.
It was incredible. It's a rivals making moves, so if rivals do happen, we won't be shocked or spared.
It was a TV moment for sure.
It was very much like a stealing the money, a Tony sending bananas down, a another like iconic betrayal, you could say. Um,
I am the Ashley Millionaire Mitchell, and Meg is my hunter.
yes. Which leads us into the final, which is Zinc from season one, Jessica, yourself, of course, Courtney, who this was her third final now, Lennox,
Yeah.
who is now back-to-back finals, and B, who made her third final. Meaning none of you were like none of you did not have any experience in it. Um,
Yeah, like we
with
had all
part
made
one,
finals.
yeah, like you all knew how it worked, what to expect, kind of. Of
Yeah.
course, I did do like a org trivia instead of season trivia this time, and really made you guys work for it. Um,
I had fun
with
doing that.
it was a fun one, and I feel like this is probably one of the better finals I've hosted.
Oh,
Um,
org
and
trivia is my mastermind subject. Like if you put me on mastermind, trivia about the orgs I play in, boom, I'm winning.
I was saying, I'm someone even like if I don't remember exact things, I'm gonna know what it is, and I'm gonna be able to talk hours about it.
Exactly.
Which is also like that's like a hyper fixation basically. That's why I keep playing them also. Um, but in the first part, two people would ultimately both be purged, and then first, second, and third would be competing for the money because this was the first season to be officially sponsored by Tony. Which thank you again,
King.
Tony, for sponsoring. We love you, King. Um, and we have a kind of shocking moment at this point because Lennox gets purged from the finals.
Yes, Lennox getting purged. Now, I feel absolutely awful for him because the reason he does get purged here is because there's a social stage in the final that he gets heavily targeted in. Like I also got targeted in that, but he got targeted just as much, and that penalty knocked him into fourth. Otherwise, Courtney would have been purged instead.
Oh,
And
another thing though is with that round, if you hit at the wrong time, you got points against yourself. And because Lennox thought, oh, I'm gonna be attacked, I'm gonna attack a lot. And
yes,
I remember seeing his list, and then every other list came in, and they were very defensive. And I'm like, oh no. And
yeah,
so he kind of nuked himself to death.
he kind of screwed himself over. I mean, the most he got targeted was basically just from me being like, okay,
Mhm.
well, if I'm being targeted, I need to make sure he also gets targeted. Because coming into that final, the general like thought in everyone's minds were me and Lennox were the threats. Court is really good. She could win this too. V is brilliant. Like she has had a good season this season. She could win this. Zinc was
And
also
Zink is
there.
there. Literally. I mean, I love Zink, but he isn't known to be insane in these.
Yeah, Zinc didn't. I'll say this, Zinc didn't have the reputation of being really strong.
Mhm.
And then yeah, so Lannis got purged because of that penalty. Had that penalty not happened, it would have been caught. And
Which is still insane.
yeah, absolute gag. Like coming in, and Zinc actually had won the first two stages due to the fact that he got no targeted, like got not targeted at all throughout that.
Hmm. And in the end, like stage two happens, like part two happens,
Yeah,
and it quickly is like, okay, it's gonna be between Zink and Jessica because Courtney, while definitely good physically, socially, and strategically, just don't think these finals were exactly in her wheelhouse,
yeah,
and she got third place. And
yeah.
then we have the nail biting finale.
Yeah, I'm better.
I mean, I literally was calculating the results on a napkin while I was at work because I was so curious on who was winning this. Because I had like done a little bit of the math and I was like, oh, Jessica wins. Oh wait, no, Sync wins. Oh no, Jessica wins. Oh wait, no, Sync wins. And I had like Snowflake it 20,000 times, double checking everything, and it was like 4 minute difference, and
Yeah, it
then
was a four
Sync
minutes
won,
difference. I
which
also made
I
you
mean,
double
Sync
check
winning.
like hours before.
Yeah, I literally was double checking the moment off before I was doing results, being like, I'm doing this correctly. I'm not making a mistake. Um, and I mean, Zink winning, amazing for the story. Like he was
Yeah,
the first, like he lost season one after dominating. It was like one of the best to ever win, and then kept losing just close to the finals again to make it there besides season three, and then coming back after a break of 3 seasons and winning finally. Like it was amazing to see, even
yeah,
though it sucked seeing you lose after such an incredible season.
yeah. I will never be able to play as good as a game as I did in All Stars.
I mean, besties.
Yeah, but also I feel that that's a different kind of game that I played.
That's also true. But you end up getting second place this season, which All Stars is gonna be one of my favorite seasons I ever hosted, with one of my favorite casts I ever had. Like if anyone's listening to this that was on All Stars, thank you 1,000% for playing this season. If you want to return, let me know. Um, just because it also just like had really good characters, really good gameplay, constantly like shifting positions of people. Like Chris at one point was at the top of his game and then just got out immediately. Same
Yeah,
thing with Con, same thing with Zach, same thing with Meg, same thing with like a Lucifer who won 3 days in a row and then went to 3 eliminations in a row.
yes,
Like
that's hilarious. Like
it was
I'm
a
looking at the
very
show.
dynamic
I
season.
laughed so hard.
Which after this dynamic season, we have the exact opposite.
Yep. You went from the most
Um,
complex, most social game ever played in this server, and then you have Play Connect.
yeah, so Play Connect, the entire concept was arcade games, and every round would be inspired by an arcade game. The
Yes.
issue was, um, after kind of advertising the org to be more social than most of the challenge orgs, I did not balance every round enough to add that social element into every round. And so, like,
Yes.
2 rounds, maybe, had
Out of,
remotely social aspect of it.
out of the 7 rounds that season, 2 of them had house votes.
Yeah. So, like, while it wasn't a bad season, like, the cast still was pretty fun, and there were, like, fun returns, like Amari and Ellie returned, even though they were from the first boots. Um, or even still like shocking eliminations like Meg in the mercenary round, or
Yeah.
Mitchell returning and making it to the final, like things like that. It still was a
Yeah.
very exciting season, but
Yeah.
it wasn't the best season. With
Yeah.
another part being the point system, where every round, depending on how you place, you kind of could earn points. With like winning the daily, you get more points. And if you go into elimination, you get like 1 point or 2 points. Like you barely got any. Um, and kind of through that, your
Yeah.
spot into the final round got secured. And I mean, I don't think we really have to go into much detail because not much happened.
Yeah. Not much
Besides like
socially
the end
happened that
game.
season, but one thing I do want to say is like round 3, I think, was the Pac-Man round, and I didn't
Yeah.
understand the format fully. And I didn't realize that the person who, like the ghost who did the best was automatically safe. Had the, wait, no. Yeah, had the ghosts win and Pac-Man goes home, the best ghost was automatically safe. I didn't know that and thought, okay, well, even if I go in and lose this round, I'm still going to be able to take out my vendetta. By the way, that vendetta was Meg.
Which
And
that did not succeed.
which did not even end up happening because the daily challenge was entirely apps. And me and Meg, we're good at apps.
Yeah, and one of them was let's just
One of
say
them
the
was
Battle of
Tetris.
the Ages in Astro Alpaca.
Wait, was that, yeah, wasn't there Tetris and Astro Alpaca at the same time?
It was, yeah, it definitely was Astro Alpaca. I don't remember if it was Tetris. I don't think it was Tetris. I feel like Tetris was in the finals though.
Yeah, no, Tetris was in the finals. I can confirm that.
But I didn't think it was at that point because I think I did another one because I know I did. No, I don't think it was Tetris. It definitely was.
I can check
forgot
my
what
screenshots.
for. While you check, to explain what happens, Neo, who had won the first two dailies, gets dragged to his death. It gets eliminated from the game
Yeah,
by
after
Adam.
Slay through the elimination.
And yeah, Neo literally got like second place besides the Ghost, who had won.
Yeah.
And it was really horrible to see him get eliminated at that point
Yeah, it was
because I
heartbreaking.
expected him to make the finals after he didn't rise. Um, and I mean, the rest of the season, you have the mercenary round later on. You have like the double elimination, like the six-person elimination before being eliminated.
Yep.
Like the game is pretty safe. You have Vivi being an icon, Sam being amazing, you have Mitchell being amazing, you have Kate, who's surprisingly good after Cutthroat, and
Yeah,
then
I
Nico,
will
who's also an
say
amazing rookie.
with the mercenary round, like there's also a fun statistic there of in the mercenary round, I am the only person out of 8 people to go up against mercenaries to be a mercenary.
Yeah, correct. Because the first time I did Mercenaries, it was in season 3, but I really did not do it correctly. Where they really were just kind of there and did the elimination, but it really didn't affect much. Um, and then when I brought it back into All Stars and then play Connect, I did not expect it to take out 7 out of 8 people.
Yeah.
Because the round with Space Invaders, it was like, ooh, invaders, like Space Invaders, oh, they're gonna be invading the game and taking shots at people. Um, and we see Thomas, who basically had secured his spot into the finals at that point, and
Yeah,
Meg and
that
Blipsy
poor
being
kid.
eliminated in this, which was really surprising.
Yeah, no, that episode was crazy as well, considering the fact that I had lost that daily challenge. I came third and the top two won, but I had came third by 0.2 seconds. Had I
Mm-hmm.
been just that smidge faster, me and Sam would have been the top two. We would have been flying through. And in those first 6 episodes, I would have won 5 dailies.
It would have been insane.
Yeah, like
And also because at
truly.
this point, Slay had gone into 3 eliminations and then finally wins that daily challenge they had been seeking and hunting for.
Yeah,
Only for the following round to be the point purge.
Yeah.
You, Mitchell, and Cage are the only ones saved, and then 6 people go into elimination, and 3 of them don't making it alive.
Also, I will say a fun statistic of Play Connect. Every single time that Slay went into elimination, I had won the daily that episode. Did I actually send him in any of those times? No. Just a fun coincidence.
And the moment that he wins the daily, you go into
He sends me
elimination.
in. He sent me in directly.
Like, that's a really funny opposite thing.
I mean, it's fair though. We had beef.
Also true. But you make it to the finals automatically by having enough points, the most points out of anyone with 47.
Yep.
And I mean, at this point, I was like, it's gonna be either a Sam win or a Jessica win. And the
Or a
moment
Vivi
I
win.
saw Sam kind of tanking in the finals, I was like, okay, Jessica's a 2-time champion.
Finally. Took me fucking long enough.
Which, I mean, it did happen. This was your 4th finals, and you won again.
Yes.
Winning the prize of Tony because you sponsored again. Thank you, sponsor Tony.
Thank you, Tony. We love you.
Yes, thank you. We love you. But this season in general was just quite tame.
Yeah, my game wasn't that impressive because there was no game to play.
Mm-hmm. This was just do well in the challenges or you're fucked.
Exactly, and I
Besides
did
Neo,
pretty well.
because Neo did well in the challenges and he still was fucked.
Yeah, I straight up had so much beef with this season because it still punished people who did well.
Yeah, I mean, there are many regrets and many lessons learned. Let's just say that.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely fixed the formatting issues the next season.
Mm.
Like,
But I
best,
mean, I feel like the next format is probably one of the best formats.
yeah.
Which the next season is one of the seasons I was really excited for, and my excitement died down for to be God due to reasons. But the next season was Besties Brawl, which the entire casting
Bestie.
idea was you apply with your best friend or with one of your best friends.
Mhm.
And during casting, I was like, ooh, Elmer and Eris, ooh, Zach and Nick, ooh, Chris and Arps, ooh, Hot and fucking Bear. And then you applied with Jermu, and Finn and Anthony applied, and Minty and Bob applied. I was like, oh my god, this cast is incredible.
Yeah.
Which I mean, it was. This is an incredible cast. No one truly did that.
Yeah, because like I
Like
actually
maybe like a
knew
handful,
from before the season that like you had wanted Jeremy to do your seasons because you saw them in other orgs, and
mm-hmm.
me and Jeremy have been best friends for a couple. I won't say a couple years. 'Cause I've not known them that long, but definitely over a year. Like we played the Org Olympics together. She played my Drag Race org. She won it. Then we hosted that Drag Race org together. It was fun. So I knew that if I was going to play Besties, it was going to be with Jeremy. It
And
was
I
gonna be
mean,
it was gonna
it
be my
was very
boyfriend up until I
successful.
played Play Connect.
Like it was very successful that you played with Jeremy.
Yes.
Because while the first round maybe wasn't that eventful for you, the second round is when shit goes crazy.
Yeah.
Um,
Never had I had to play so hard so early.
Because to explain what happened, Elmo and Eris, Scott Comet, and Chris and Arps win the second daily challenge. And the way the format worked was last place. Wait, no, last place didn't go into elimination. It was. Oh, wait, no, did it go into
It
elimination?
was. Last
Yeah,
place
no,
got
last
sent to
place went directly
elimination.
into
The top three
elimination.
nominated 3 teams, and they
Yeah,
sent one of those 3 teams in.
yes. And basically, Jessica and Jeremu heard from Scott and Comet that, oh, Chris and Arps want to nominate you. And the other nominees would have been Minty and Bob and Jan West. And I feel like it's pretty consensus. Had that happened, you go into the second elimination of the season.
Yeah, and I love Jay and Rez. Um, I I think we might have actually struggled against them in that elimination.
I mean, they did
So
really well. They beat
yeah,
Han
because
Bear.
they are really strong. So what happened was like in VC, not Scott, Comet told me that Ups was bugged by how I talked to her. And I get it. I fully understand it. It did frustrate me a little, considering I was being earnest with Ups. Basically, what happened was during Cutthroat, Ups did a lot of daily conversations with people and pinged people every day to talk to them. I really struggle with that kind of communication. I'm really bad with like getting in rhythm. So when people keep trying to reach out to me every day, I struggle talking. Um, and so at the start of the season, Up said, "Don't worry, I won't be doing daily pings." And in my 19 years of wisdom, I replied, "Thank God." And you know, I get it. She took it the wrong way. So she had been bugged by me. Chris wanted to target me because I was a threat, and also I had upset his girlfriend. And Elmo and Eris were also kind of on board of sending me in because it's me.
Mhm.
So what I did was I went to comment and basically went, "Hey, okay, I know for a fact that they will send me in. However, if you nominate Heart and Bear instead, they might want to fry that bigger fish and send him in instead of me. And that's what happened. Like I was nominated still, but I was nominated against a bigger target,
Mhm.
which is crazy. And
Because
Heart and
coming
Bear got
into
sent
that
in.
season, like I was in that like the first few VCs where people were coming in, and in that first VC, you might not believe it because you saw them play the game, but High and Bear they were strategy talking hard, and I was like, oh, this is interesting, because I know that they had a connection with Mitchell and Sam, and they were like going to be clicking together, and I know that Ha still had like his connections with Zach from Champions vs Contenders, and obviously like a chance kind of thing of like, oh, the best have to stay together.
Hmm.
And I feel like also that round, while Elmo and Eris have their back, they also know that they cannot beat you in the finals.
Yeah.
And I know that especially Elmo really wanted to get Eris that win this season because literally from the moment I said a ride or die like season is gonna happen, I knew they were gonna apply and they said they would apply. Um, and but I was in that VC and I was like, oh my god, Scott and Comet are like leaking what Arp is saying. And then Arp joins the
I'll
VC.
just join the VC. And
And I was, and then Comet immediately leaves the VC. And I'm just in spec chat pinging people, being like, oh my god, join this
yeah,
VC, it's going down.
though
They're
I will
talking
say,
shit about each other.
Comet was in VC while I don't want to say confronted, but I talked to Arps about our interactions. And on paper, we had sorted it out. I don't think we actually did sort it out.
A little bit. I feel like there was more reasoning given, but you're probably still always being nominated.
Yeah. But but then yeah, Comet and everyone left the VC. And while we were nominated, the rest is history. Ha and Bear went home that episode.
Which I mean, Han Bear being the second booth, especially Hot being the second booth, is still an
I
insane thing.
screamed.
Same. I was like, oh my fucking god, three-time champion being the second booth. I was like, oh my god, anything can happen this season. Which I mean, anything does happen this season. Like a lot of the rounds
Everything
are
happens
surprising.
this season.
Everything happens, yeah. Because the following round you have Jen Rez lose to Chris and Arps, which that's already incredible. Like
That's an
Chris and
insanely
Arps,
strong matchup.
yeah, like Chris and Arps had at that point the exact same track record as Jen Rez because
Yeah.
Jen Rez had won the first daily and then went into elimination and then got eliminated. And then Chris and Arps won the second daily, then got into elimination and then then got eliminated because they were last place in the daily, then
And
chose to
quit.
walk from the game due to like personal issues as well and the game and it was being run from them. Where we
Yeah.
had Logan Iris replaced them.
And with that challenge where with that challenge where Chris and Ups walked, me and Jomu won that challenge. We came first place. by over like half the time of second place.
It was a very dominant win because Minty and Bob won their second daily, and Elmo and Eros won their second daily that episode,
Yeah,
being second and third. But it was still like an impressive thing. And then this leads into the following round where you have yourself and Minty and Bob win again because the round gets reset.
yep.
You two, Logan and
And this
Iris have to
time
win
with
again.
Scott and Comet.
Yes.
And
And then no, Scott and is the round afterwards. And then the other person, the other player that wins daily at that point is double checking. Anyway, it's
Scott,
Scott and Comet, yes. I thought you
yep,
meant
Scott
the
Comet.
girl. With Finn and Anthony getting fourth place both times, which really
Yeah,
sucked. And Elmo and Eris obviously not winning anymore, which that
yes.
caused tension, which I'll let
And
you explain.
a couple episodes before that, I had seen Eris get into a locked VC somehow, and you were also in that VC. So I had assumed that that was the Advantage VC from the original season 5, and I was
Which was very
correct.
correct.
So my
So to
plan was
explain what the
immediately,
advantage VC was, in the original Fresh Meat, I had just opened it at a random time, and the person who joined got it. But I was not going to let it be that easy this time, and I had left some clues around the server for those who left, and they basically found the right command that opened the VC for them, and then had to ping me. I opened the VC for them. I joined, told them what they got, gave them the message, and then they got the advantage. I was actually planning to do another one, but then a lot of drama happened, so it's like, you know what? Let me scrap this one. I'm not gonna like stir
yeah,
the pot even more. I don't think it's necessarily needed. Um, but what happens here is everyone knows basically they have this advantage. They just don't know exactly what it is.
yes. And my pair, me and Jamu, and Scott and Comet, because I, like coming into this season, I was already very close with a lot of people on the cast, those being rookie pairs, Marks and Rowe and Scott and Comet, because we had all been a part of Operation together. Operation being Marks's org.
Which I had just won at that point. So
Yeah, you had just won. I had just been a robot tricycle who blew herself up. It
Ro
was
also
really
just
funny.
won.
You had to be there.
Yeah, it was a very fun season to do. Very emotional. Like both of us cried. Um,
Yep.
very
Whoopsie.
funny. Some really great moments happened, and then I turned into a demon.
Yep, you turned into a
But
demon.
yes, but to continue onwards. Um,
So, and we had formed an alliance early on called the Star Agency, which is what the admin team was called, basically. Um, it became a move for me and Scott, well, me, Scott, Comet, and Jomo to target Elmo and Eris for the round and just flush out whatever they have. Even if it means we go against like a parent elimination, the parent elimination at that point was Zero and Trap. We were safe. We Anyone could go up against Zero and Trap and beat them.
yeah, it's like
Sorry,
Zero
Zero
and
and Trap,
Trap.
if you hear
They
this.
aren't necessarily a bad team, but a lot of the other teams were very strong at that point, especially those who
Yeah.
would be in danger.
So yeah, that that went down. Turns out we just had to re-vote, and we voted in Finn and Anthony, who we had nominated. Just I don't want to say as a pawn because that sounds mean, but they were like a pawn.
They weren't necessarily the target. You just had
They
to
weren't the
nominate
first
them.
target, and like had the advantage not been just voting of a pair in, and had it been like, oh, they get to pick someone else to go in, then like we would have kept Finn and Anthony safe. But we had to vote in another pair, so we voted in Finn and Anthony. I mean, I feel like it was justified. They're both brilliant players. Like they both won Cutthroat for good reason.
And at that point, Finn had also made the finals in his rookie season. Like neither of them were beaten in a season at that point.
Exactly. So we sent them in, and it kind of set them off a little.
Yeah, I mean, Finn really was just hoping to keep his safe streak. And I mean, obviously, he did feel connected with Jeremu and you,
Yeah,
and
and it resulted
he was
in
not
the
happy.
it resulted in the Mastermind VC, which is the funniest thing ever. Finn was calling me out in front of everyone in that VC, calling me a mastermind, and that I was the best player to ever play this game. And the whole time I was laughing on camera at him and just going, I don't know. I think I just got lucky. And I do
Yeah,
genuinely believe there is a layer of luck to my success. Like I know that I am good, but I'm not. I don't think I'm the best.
you're really good. I mean, I think that's a given. And also, that VC became one of the best moments of the season because a lot of us just joined in and then we started talking about politics and we started talking about life
Exactly.
and
We
things
just got
that
them
and
talking
about
about other
games.
things, and it
Yeah,
just
like we just had a really personal conversation as friends, including myself. Like I also joined in and like was talking to you guys, and it was a
yeah,
really
exactly.
fun moment to have.
And I just got to sneak back into the background, well, quote unquote, into the background. Like I got off. Like my reputation, of course, was still kind of damaged by him calling me out, but I ended up perfectly fine.
Good. Like you were really good at that point.
Yeah, and then the format changed, and
That was the
everything.
round after.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, no, that was the round after like the format changes, where Elmo and
and
Eris
everything
wins.
went to shit.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go into
The
exact
drama,
detail.
fair enough. I'm
Yeah,
not going to go into the
because
drama.
the drama, especially from this point of the season, the drama got very personal on multiple levels between multiple people. And I mean, my opinion is obvious. A lot of them have been sorted out, whether at least can talk to each other. Um, some haven't been sorted out as much. But maybe that'll happen in the future. But basically, what happens is uh, there kind of is like a miscalculation, misinterpretation of the challenge, which results into, I mean, Mitchell and Sam went overtime. Minty and Bob misunderstood it, and then due to different sources saying different things, all three lists were fucked up. So I, the host, was like, okay, gonna reset, redo the elimination, redo everything. That's the most fair. Um, in the end, Scott and Comet did decide to eliminate themselves, and I told them both like I respect your decision. You know, I love you both. And I had conversations with both of them afterwards as well. Um, but that made Sam and Mitchell and then Jim Bob survive that round. I mean, them three being in elimination was an insane thing happen, like to happen.
Like
Like
those were
they had
the
been,
like other than
they've
my
been,
pair, obviously, like those were like the
mhm.
biggest threats of the season, all being sent in against each other.
Yeah, they were like the pairs to be at that point.
And
And
especially with
also
that
Zero and
round.
Crab had won back into the game, meaning they were
Yes.
safe. And they probably would have been thrown in immediately again had they
Yeah.
hadn't been like had that the option. Um, Especially due to Elmo and Eris winning and them not necessarily being close to Zero and Crab. Um, then the following round we have the double elimination where you
Which
win.
me and Jeremy won.
Um, which I mean in general, like Marsh and Rowe pulled the save dagger and then throw in. I think they threw in Zach and Nick, or did they throw in Emily Katie?
They threw in Zach and Nick, Emily Katie with a
Yeah,
houseboat, and
and Mitchell and Sam pulled
Mitch and Sam
the
pulled the bad
elimination
dagger.
dagger. Yeah, and
Um,
then Mitchell and Sam win due
yes,
to the
the
jigsaw.
the other drama.
Yes. Wait, no, that's one of three dramas.
Sorry, one of three dramas. First was the Capitol, second was the Jigsaw, and third was the GOP.
Yes. But
Um,
Zach and Nick and Emily Katie get eliminated, which
yep.
I mean, Zach is always gonna be amazing to have, but school, like he's a teacher, and that made his schedule a pain in the ass for this. And he definitely was able to give his all compared to the previous 3 seasons, previous 4 seasons, even 5 seasons counting champions and contenders, and 6 if you count fresh meat. Um, and Nick, who is a lawyer now, if I'm correct, like he also had his life, his schedule, and it wasn't always the best. And Emily and Katie, they were there, but they were the best kind of pair. Like they
Yeah,
were
they
so wholesome, so nice, and even if they still did really well in the challenges, they just never got to that exact win.
yeah, but they were brilliant people. I never really got to connect with them on a deeper level because like I wasn't really able to talk to them that much. Just it was an activity thing on both ends. But I do genuinely love those people.
I mean, they were amazing, and like they're just we two people that like the moment they applied, I was like, they're being cast simply because I need girls. Like I'm going to be very open about that. I want more girls on the challenge. Like need
Yay!
more female champs. And also their applications were so nice. When I talked to them, they were so nice. Um, so like I'd love
Yeah,
to have both of them back. I told that to them like the moment they like were even from the game. I was like, I want you guys back. Like apply again. Um, and then then afterwards, Marks gets a roulette and draws the third kind of dagger. He goes into elimination immediately against Elmo and Eris, and also against Zero and Trap. But Zero and Trap decided to leave the game due to personal issues, which, I mean,
understandable.
completely respected, understandable. Like,
And
people don't
also
want to
that
return.
that round was another crazy save where me and Sam had managed to convince Zero and Trap that working with us was the best move. And it resulted in
Because
instead of me and Jomo going into a guaranteed elimination, we just got 3 out of the 7 votes and we were still
that was
safe.
Elmo and Eris who went in
And
instead,
almost,
because
yeah, Elmo and Eris went
at
in.
this point of the game, you had Logan, Iris, Elmo, and Eris, and then Anthony as like a really strong voting block. And then you had Mitchell, Sam, Martin Rowe, and then yourself and Jeremy as a voting block, which left Minty and Bob and Zero and Trap in the middle, with um, Logan and Iris being unable to vote, and Minty and Bob sided with Elmo, Iris, and Anthony, which left Zero and Trap. And they were
Yes.
voting you originally until you and Mitchell and Sam like got in their heads and were able to convince them to stick by you, which I mean, incredible social play. Like that was
Yeah.
an incredible thing. Probably not their best move, but you being able to pull that off, that's insane.
Yeah. And then afterwards was the purge, which
Yeah.
honestly, I will say Jomu did so much of it. Like we both had to do the same amount in theory, but she did the harder puzzles, and she did the harder puzzles faster than me.
Like it was. I mean, in general, that purge was very surprising because I did not expect Elmore Eris or Logan Iris to go. Like, it was fairly certain that like March and Rowe are probably going to be purged here because they haven't really been doing the best in the dailies, and then Finn and Anthony, they won one elimination and they're so like down on themselves that they're probably going to panic and then get
Yes,
purged as well.
they
And
they
then
convinced
both of them do
themselves that they were
really
the
well.
underdogs.
Yeah, and then both of them do really well. Like March and Rowe get second in the purge, Finn and Anthony get third in the purge, or fourth. Like they did still really well. And like
Yeah, they both of those pairs did really well. Me and Jomu won the purge, obviously, but like Marks and Rowe did incredible. They even beat me and Jomu on the second stage.
like and they got second in the first stage, like to you guys. So it was a
Exactly.
really insane thing.
They were
And then the
incredible.
last round, we have the last drama happen where Finn
The
and
third
Anthony
drama,
finally win that daily they had been fighting for.
yeah.
And I
And me and
mean,
Jomu almost go in by being
yeah,
last place, but instead Mitchell and Sam do it because Mitchell and Sam didn't complete one of the things.
they weren't able to start actually. So they asked for an extension, and I was like, hey, if I do this extension, I'm gonna have to do it until the following day because I need sleep. Um, and so I did that, and then I woke up, and they still hadn't done it, and I was like, okay, I actually gave you like 12 hours more. I cannot extend this more. Like
Yeah,
it's not gonna be fair at that point. And like I understand their frustration, but also I'm like, you asked for this much, so give it more, and still were
yeah.
unable to do it. Um, And so they go into elimination instantly. And it was like, okay, either Minty and Bob go in or you and Jeremy go in.
Yes,
And
because
it's
yeah,
quickly obvious that like multiple votes are heading your way.
yep. I mean,
But
we knew there was going to be two votes going their way, two votes going our way, and it just
mhm,
came down to Mitchell and Sam.
yeah, and Mitchell and Sam had already been talking kind of about turning on you guys for a while at this point because they knew in the finals against you and Jeremy, who had a lot of experience, one working together and also in the challenge games, they would have a very uphill battle.
Yeah.
But due to drama, which we're not going to go into details,
Yep. Nope.
the vote got decided pretty quickly, and it was you and Jeremy.
Yep.
And this elimination is the closest elimination in the entirety of this org.
Yeah.
Because this elimination, it was called Trial by Combat, and it was 6 rounds. Originally 5 rounds, but due to like schedule, we weren't able to do it completely in one go. And in every round, there were 3 challenges. And the first, you win 2 of them, or like complete 2 of them, and the points.
Hmm.
And in the first one, Jurmu wins 3-0, only winning one of them by one literal second.
Yeah.
Um, and at this point, if Jessica was able to win just one, they won.
Single round against Sam, who like we haven't even gone into detail about the fact that Sam is probably the single best physical player of the new era.
Yeah, I mean, Sam is like he holds the comp record, if I'm correct, in Twist Fiver. Like he was able to completely comp out in his original season, win Redemption, and then win season 2 of Twist Fiver. Return in All Stars, and then lay low, not being targeted somehow, only to then return in Heroes vs. Villains and tie or even break his comp record. I don't remember what he did. And then get second place. But like Sam is always someone that's going to be incredibly dominant in the challenges, but also he's getting better and better in the challenges while in the social game because he already was able to show that in Survivor. And this season, like at Final 8, I was like, oh, Sam and Mitch are winning this season because of how well they had been doing in every level. Um,
Yeah.
and so in the elimination, round 2, it's 3-0. Sam wins a round. Sam wins another round, and it's
Yep.
3-2. And it basically comes down to literal seconds who scores the final point. And then you score. And
Yes.
it's already obvious had Sam scored the tiebreaker, he would have won.
Yeah, that tiebreaker was something I
Because
was
the
really bad at.
tiebreaker got moved into the finals and it was math pyramid and it basically was like you have to find the correct numbers so everything is correct.
Yeah,
And
that math
Sam
pyramid
is a
almost
math
cost me the
genius
win.
and Jessica almost lost the finals due to that. Um, so like it was a nail biting win. And I was like, oh my actual god. Like,
Yeah.
this is insane. And I mean, Mitchell and Sam already went to elimination being like, if we lose to you guys, we are rooting for you, we are supporting you, we just want to beat or lose against the best. And I mean, you two were the strongest competition that season at that point left in the game.
Yeah.
Like, that entire round was a roller coaster of emotions,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yep.
including the finals.
Yep. But that was just because of the drama.
Yeah, that as well, but also the results were incredible. Um, because in the final, um, we have you win, Mark Summerall gets second, Finn and Anthony get third, meaning Finn now has gotten first, second, and third, which is really impressive. Very much like you. And then Mitchell, no, and then Minty and Bob get fourth place, which Minty and Bob win the finals had they taken notes.
Yes, and actually, with taking notes, I knew that there was going to be a trivia section because there always is. Also, you
Mm.
did say early on that there would be, so I made sure to write down every single challenge name, and I had a second sheet tracking every single placement in every single challenge. And when I had made the final, I was like, okay, good, we can use this. And then I made a copy of that stat sheet and gave it to Marks because I knew that if me and Jomu don't win this, I want Marks and Row to win this. And without that stat sheet, I think Marks and Row struggle, and they struggle as much as Bob and Minty.
I mean, I feel like had that not happened, I think the results probably are you first, and then Finn and Anthony, and then Marks and Row, and then Minty. Because I mean,
Yeah.
still, Marks and Row did incredibly well in the finals.
Yeah,
Despite
Marks and Row
that,
did so good.
like
I'm
they
pretty
literally were
proud.
neck on neck with you guys, and only lost due to Gilhap, which we do not
Yeah,
talk about
I feel
Gilhap.
so bad that that deal happened to them.
Oh God, that already was an episode title.
Yeah, I got trapped to make it an episode title.
But yeah, you win your third season,
Yeah,
become the second ever three-time champion, which it literally took another 6 seasons to have this happen.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, I
or
got
seven, I
there
think.
after Ha. Like, after Ha had
Yeah,
won his third season, I showed up and did it in basically the same amount of time.
yeah, because like I had put Ha on like probation. He was not
Yes.
returning for a while until he returned for Rise, and then in Rise he did fine. He still made like a good run, and so I was like, oh yeah, I can keep casting Jessica because she's not going to become a three-time champion, no way. And then he became a two-time champion. And I'm like, okay, I mean, it's not going to happen again, right? Especially because like he had Mitchell Sam, Elmo Eris, Logan Iris, and Deep Bob. I was like, there's so many strong teams. And then the
Exactly, yeah.
final happened, and I was like, is Jessica just winning again? And then you won again. And I saw your reaction live, and I was like, okay, this is wholesome now. But still, how the fuck did she win again?
I mean, I'm gonna be entirely honest. I fucking cried. Like,
I mean,
I
I
looked like I
saw
was
you.
laughing, but I was crying.
I mean, this is your second or you're a three-time winner now, I think.
Yes, this is an operation, and you've
Yeah,
now
and
both put me on the production team. So,
yeah, because you're now the new Ha on probation.
yeah.
Because
I mean, I also like it was also kind of confirmed that like even if I lost this season, I would still be on production. Like, because
mhm,
I had helped make the format for the next main season.
mhm. Like, season 6 is basically your idea, and then we worked off of it. And even then, I don't think you would be playing season 6.
I wouldn't wanna.
Um, yeah, exactly. So like you're always joining production, and then being in a little bit of probation, you probably would have been on like season 7 or season 8 in some capacity.
Yeah.
But you now are on production. You are on
Yay.
production in multiple places, including your own org. Which hey, I just won a daily in, so hoo.
Yeah,
Um,
congrats. You know how to
Finally,
draw.
it took me literally 3 seasons.
It took you 3 seasons and an art challenge.
Yes, which says a lot about me. Um,
No, you are a
but
really
you're
strong
now
challenge
on
player. Just
production.
you're up against Mist and Ghost in the same season, which is insane.
Well, yeah, but also I feel like the challenges are just sucked at. Like
Yeah.
a check-in challenge of 7 hours, and then the moment I have to check in, I get called down for food. Literally, the moment I was like, I'll quickly do this, and then 2 minutes pass, and I'm like, fuck. Hey, I still get saved, so that's great. But you have your own org. You're part of operation production now as well. You're part of Cursor production, helping with Voyage, and season 6, which season 6 is going to be a special season.
Hell yeah.
Only a couple of people actively know about it, but I'm already starting to build the cast. I think the other like part of it is also starting to build the cast. So
Hmm.
see. But to kind of finish this off, because I think we've been going for like an hour and a half. Yeah, we've been going for an hour and a half.
We have been going
Um,
for a while.
yeah, I mean, we are like psychic twins.
We also, yeah,
Like,
we, yeah.
like our brain works
Our
in a
brains,
way that is
our brains are
incredibly
linked in a way that they shouldn't be.
exactly like there were multiple times where an NPC or about to say something, and we thought the exact same thing and said the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Like we have just bonded in a way that's just insane. And I mean, when I met you, you were like one of the only people I was actively talking to besides Pino, because he also was on that season, and Courtney, because Courtney had to ask me to apply.
Yeah.
And so when I was meeting people for New Beginnings, Courtney was like, "Oh yeah, ask Pino and Jessica," and Pino said no, but you said yes. um, and since then we've just gotten so close, and it's always just incredible to either see you play or play with you, or like get hosted by you. This is always just really camp and really funny. Um, like when we did CHF together, we both just did not care about these people and still did incredible. Um, and somehow I beat you in elimination, which I'm forever gonna hold against you.
I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
You aren't weak.
but hey, we've done a lot together, and we're gonna keep doing a lot together in this org. You're probably gonna win again, knowing you. Not for
I
a
hope so.
while. You're probably gonna win again. Uh, but we're gonna.
Give
I
me
think
a
it's time
call,
to
I will
wrap
show
things
up.
up. Yes, exactly. Like the moment you can, you're gonna be back. Um, but it is time that we wrap this up. We just keep it for a while. Take literal ages to upload. But thank you so much for wanting to do this. We'll probably hear you back for like a reunion or something, or like
Yeah.
another type of episode.
Thank you for
Um,
having me.
of course.
You know how much
And
I love talking about myself.
I mean, obviously, and like literally, you were like the first person who I talked to was like, "Oh yeah, I'll do it." Like, I didn't even have to ask you. You were like, "I'll do it. I'll be there."
Yeah,
Like when I
exactly.
opened the door, you already were camping outside.
I I don't even need to knock. I just show up at the door and it opens.
Exactly. But thank you everyone for listening to this episode. Soon you'll be hearing another episode with one of the winners of Survivor JC. We've already said his name in this. Um,
Yippee!
which JC also is kind of the reason that was a challenge even exists. So you'll be hearing a lot about that as well.
Nice.
But thank you everyone for listening, and I'll see you guys all soon. Bye.